But the cool thing is that after I crossed the finish line to my first Ironman, 6 weeks before my 31st birthday, I realized I didn't need my dad's validation anymore. I just validated myself.
Jen Rulon's story spans years, disciplines, and reinvention. She was born in Michigan, raised in a small town in Wisconsin, then built a 25-year career in San Antonio working with marine animals at SeaWorld. She trained everything from dolphins to killer whales. Along the way, she quietly pursued a goal she had set as a teenager: to become an Ironman. But she didn't just complete one, she went on to finish 15. What makes Jen's story compelling isn't just her endurance, but her evolution. In her late 40s, after years of competition, she stepped away from the sport, went through a major life transition, and eventually made a bold move to Costa Rica, where she now lives at 54, building a completely new chapter in her life. She's focused on helping other women do the same. In addition to all this, she's a published author and TEDx speaker, but at the core of it, Jen is someone who's repeatedly asked herself, who am I now, and where do I want to go next? The purpose of this conversation is to understand what drives someone to push themselves for years to reach that level, and what the rest of us can learn from it, and perhaps incorporate some lessons into our own lives. In this conversation, we talk about what drove her to complete 15 Ironmen. We talk about the role of identity and validation in her journey. We discuss what she discovered about herself along the way, and what it really takes to reinvent a life. I really enjoyed my conversation with Jen, and as always, I'm just a host asking questions, hoping to learn alongside others. With that, here's my conversation with Jen Rulon. All right, today I'm joined by Jen Rulon. Jen is an endurance athlete turned life coach. She's completed 15 Ironman races and qualified for and competed in Ironman World Championship in Kona, Hawaii. She holds a master's degree in kinesiology. She is a TEDx speaker. She's delivered a university commencement address. And she's the author of 3 books on personal growth and performance: Flying Above the Line, Self-Motivation Strategies for Women, and Rulon Rules: Strength, Training, and the Triathlete. After stepping away from competitive racing in 2019, Jen went through a major life transition that eventually led her to Costa Rica, where she now lives and works. Today, she's a midlife strength and life coach, helping women navigate change, build resilience, and create a life rooted in movement, meaning, and renewal. Jen, it's great to have you on. Thanks for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So, my first question had to deal with the Ironman that you've done. So, you've done 15 Ironmen. For context of listeners, an Ironman is one of the toughest endurance events in the world. That's a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, a 26.2-mile marathon, essentially, all done back-to-back within a strict time limit. Most people have never even run a marathon. I was looking it up, about 1 in 100.
Really?
Yeah, about 0.5 to 1%. Far fewer have ever completed a single Ironman. Roughly 1 in like 10,000 to 15,000 people is what I was researching.
Interesting.
And in that rare group, few people have done more than one. A smaller group has done 2 to 5. Tiny groups have done 10 plus, and an ultra small group makes it to 15.
Really?
Yeah, so your accomplishment is incredible.
Thank you.
So that's not only that, 80% of Ironman are completed by men, 20% are by women. So that just shocks me even more. So let's go back to the beginning. Okay. When did you first get the idea or inspiration to even attempt an Ironman?
Yeah. I love this story because it's really was the pinnacle part of my life. So I was 17 years old and I was watching the ABC Wide World of Sports on television. And if you're around my age, you might remember the tagline, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. And the and the guys tumbling down the hill as a skier. We all see it. We all see it. So I was watching that, and I was watching the Ironman World Championship in Hawaii. It was on that day, and so I'm sitting there watching it. I'm watching Dave Scott and Mark Allen that day, and they call it later on over time. They called it Iron War, and so Dave Scott won constantly that race over and over and over. That year, Mark Allen won at a time of like 9 hours or excuse me, 8 hours, 8 hours. And, Mark and Dave, they were running like I thought I read under 6-minute miles. These guys were hauling butt. Like, it was crazy. So then all of a sudden, an hour later, Paula Newby Frazier, the first female, crosses the finish line. I was like, dang. I'm like, well, you know what? If she could do it, I could do it. So that was when I was 17 years old. And I think it was like a month later, we go to the holidays to go see my grandparents. And I go and talk to my grandpa, who's my mom's dad, World War II vet, Purple Heart, like, and I was the only granddaughter, right? So like I was that girl. And I said to my grandpa, I said, Grandpa, I go, by the time I'm 30, I'm gonna go do the Ironman World Championship in Hawaii. He goes, okay, when you go, I'll go with you. That's all I heard. He didn't even question me that I did not run. I hated running. I was like that girl. I was like the second to last on the presidential fitness test that we had to do, like for the mile run. I think I was running like did a 9-minute mile back then, you know? And so, but he never questioned me about like why I wanted to do that race. Never. He just believed in me from the very beginning. So that was the aha moment for me, like that why. I feel like my second why was trying to get my dad's attention. So my dad and my brother had this beautiful bond that through sports, basketball. Like, so we grew up in Detroit. So it was the Detroit Lions, Detroit Tigers, Detroit Pistons, the Red Wings, Michigan Wolverines, everything about sports that the guys like talked about, right? So like I did volleyball. I was a cheerleader. I played softball and I did very well in softball. Like I was a sophomore on the varsity team. I always never really had that bond with my dad because he just didn't understand like me, like my sports, right? And so I think in the back of my mind, I thought, well, shoot, if I do this sport, maybe my dad will notice me, right? So it was cool because I would do these races and I remember one time I was staying with my dad in Michigan and I was like, hey, I gotta go run and I gotta go run 75 minutes to 90 minutes. And he's like, what? I go, well, yeah, I'm getting ready for a race, and I go, I gotta go. And so like when I took off, he stood in the driveway, watched me go. And then 75 minutes to 80 minutes later, I come back. He's still standing in the driveway. I'm like, please tell me you left. Like you left. He goes, I did. He goes, but I was like, I kept looking at my watch, like, where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? Where's my daughter? Um, But the cool thing was is that after I crossed the finish line to my first Ironman, which was Ironman, Wisconsin, 6 weeks before my 31st birthday, I realized I didn't need my dad's validation anymore. I just validated myself. Mhm.
Did you get that connection? If he's standing in the driveway, seeing you run and waiting for you to come back, it sounded like he loved you a lot, and at least you had that connection there. By you doing this or training for this, did you get that connection with him?
Um, I think I lost my dad. He was very young. My dad was 62 when he passed, so almost over 16 years ago. And so he was extremely young. And I feel like I got the connection maybe even after he passed. Because I think as I started getting older, recognizing that my parents were kids when they had kids, and I started giving him a little bit of more grace, that I felt like I was able to connect with him after he passed. Like, I don't know if I fully saw my dad when he was still alive. I don't think I did. I think I was that hurt kid that, like, craved my dad's attention, realizing that I didn't need the external validation anymore. Like, I internally validated myself, and so I thought, "Well, I can take care of myself. I'm good. I don't need my dad's." But when my dad passed, it was crazy, like, all the stuff that we saw that he kept from us for so many years. I was like, "Dang." My dad was, like, struggling emotionally, mentally, physically, because, I mean, I was married for 18 years, and he kept the boutonniere that he had for my wedding. It was in the drawer, and I'm like, "Oh my god." He had wedding pictures of him and my mom. They divorced they were divorced for years. So it's like, god dang it. Dad was dad was human.
Yeah, maybe it sounds like he was had his own demons,
Absolutely.
and what you were looking for from him, he just couldn't provide. But it sounds like he loved you dearly.
Absolutely, he did.
I was listening to you, and you said that you've always been someone who decides something and then just does it. And you say people find that, to me, it sounded like people find that fascinating about you. You say, I'm going to do it, and you just do it.
True.
Tell me about that. Where does that come from?
Dang. I never thought of it that way, but I do. I manif I manifest I've manifest my life. It's crazy. Like, where does it come from? I don't know. Is it that girl that was trying to prove herself for so many years of being told that I can't do things? Maybe. I mean, I was born in Detroit, but I moved to Whitewater, Wisconsin. It was a tiny town, but it was a really amazing town growing up. I mean, it was a college town, and went to elementary, junior high, high school, and I even went to the University of Wisconsin Whitewater. It's a Division III school, but it was a great, great town growing up. But it was a tiny town. It's a little town. And so, like, it had, what, 12,000 people in the town, but half of those people were college kids, right? So I remember going to my counselor, in high school, and they're like, "Okay, well, Jen, what do you want to do, growing up? Or what do you want to do when you get older?" I'm like, "I want to work with marine mammals." And they're um, like what? I'm like, "I want to work with dolphins or sea lions or otters or killer whales." Um, okay, great. So you're not going to make a lot of money. You live in Wisconsin, so you're going to have to move. And it's really hard to get into. And I'm like, please watch me, you know? And I think I heard, I heard that numerous times. I never felt like I was an athlete growing up. I was never like, I basketball, I wasn't the best at. I had fun with. I could throw a football. I could throw a spiral football and I could throw it far. And that's all based off of my brother and my dad, right? They taught me, they're like, "Here's a football." I'm like, "All right, let's start throwing it," right? So I was always that tomboy. I just tried things, right? I wasn't good at a lot of things. Like I was terrible at gymnastics, but I was tall and lanky, right? I wasn't that short Mary Lou Retton type of style. But I think it was when people told me it would be hard, or I don't know if that's the best thing for you. I think it was me saying, "Watch me."
Yeah, it sounds like you had that self-confidence.
I did.
Yeah, you had that belief in yourself.
Mhm. Which is
Um,
crazy now talking about it because I never thought I did, you know?
yeah, here you are looking for your father's approval,
Yeah.
and you have this inner confidence.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thank you for recognizing that. Wow. There goes, I have what, how many minutes? 20 minutes in. Like that was the best therapy ever.
And we'll talk about that dream you just mentioned about working with the sea life in a few minutes. Take me to September 14th, 2002.
Hmm.
That is your first Ironman finish. So you're crossing the finish line. What did it mean to you? What did that race mean to you? Did it give you the validation that you were looking for? I think you said
Hmm.
it did. Talk about that a little bit. You're finishing the race. You've completed this incredible obstacle. You said you were going to do it 17, and here you are completing it at around 30.
So yeah, 2002, I remember, gosh darn it. I remember just how excited I was. Like, and I always tell, I still coach triathletes. I still coach runners. Um, But for many years, I coached triathletes and runners, and I always said, "Your first is always gonna be the best." It's like, the first kiss, the first date, the first dance, the first whatever it might be, it's the first is always gonna be super special to you. Now, the crazy thing is like, do I remember much of it? No. Have I written it out somewhere? Yes. I don't know where, but it's somewhere in my plethora of like notes or whatever. But um I remember going in and just being excited about it. Just excited. Like I trained for a year. I think at that point when I was in San Antonio, the year 2000, San Antonio got the 100-year flood. We got so much rain in San Antonio, so I was only able to get I think 100-mile bike ride in. I think I maybe got 114 in because I was out riding and I got lost, right? So when I coach triathletes, I'm always like, if you guys can get at least 100 rides in, you're golden, you're set, you know? So I only got one, maybe two in because of all the rain. So I was like, okay, I'm sort of prepared. I think I'm prepared, but I felt prepared. Like I had a coach. So coaches need coaches, right? But I had a coach and she was amazing. And I went and swam with a swim group and they were fantastic. And like my runs, like super easy, like easy for me, right? They were, things that I did. But doing that race, when I got there, the energy was incredible. Like it was just, I was ready. Like it was something that I dreamed about for years. So I didn't even question it. I didn't even second guess it. Like it was something that I knew I was going to do.
Was your grandfather I don't think he was there for it, right? Can you
No.
talk about that?
Yeah, so my grandpa passed away in May of 2001 because if grandpa was around in 9/11, he would have pulled out his army fatigues and been like, "Where do you need me, President Bush? Like, like, I'm not a political person, but, grandpa would have been like, all right, I'm ready, at 82 years old, right? Um, so, uh, so in 2001, my grandpa passed away. And so this is a really special story about my grandfather. So butterflies play a huge role in my life because of my grandfather. So my grandpa passed away in May. I was getting ready. I qualified for the duathlon world championship in Netherlands in September of 2001. And I was my grandpa passed away, and I was out on a bike ride getting ready for that race. And I said to myself, I was like, I was out riding and I still remember to this day, I was riding on 211 in San Antonio, and I was going up this hill and it was just brutal. It was hot. I was uncomfortable. And I'm like, what am I doing? My grandpa just passed away. Why am I even out here? Like, my grandpa's not gonna see me. He knows, like, he's not gonna see me cross the finish line to the world championship in Hawaii if I go. He's not gonna see me do any of my races. And I remember cresting this hill at the time, and I remember just, like, I had tears just dripping down my face. And I remember as I was coming up over this hill after I got done with this hill climb, all of a sudden I was like, "Grandpa, I miss you. Like, I wish you were here." And all of a sudden a swarm of yellow butterflies just come over me. And I was like, "What just happened? What just happened?" And I was like, "Wow, grandpa is here. My grandpa is here." That's all I needed. And so when I had that moment, and this was me not really knowing, like, about intuition, about signs, about higher power. I knew there was a God. Um, I believed there was a higher power. I wasn't really big in, like, going to church, religion, that type of thing, but I knew that there was something higher than me, and that confirmed it to a T. And I thought to myself, okay, grandpa's here. Grandpa will be around me no matter what. And I have seen butterflies at some of the hardest times of my life. I've seen butterflies at the most beautiful times of my life. And just even yesterday, so my house in Costa Rica, or a couple days ago, my house in Costa Rica is called Casita de Mareas y Morphos. So tiny house of tides and morpho butterflies. Morpho butterflies in Costa Rica are these gorgeous blue butterflies. They are absolutely, like, just breathtaking. Every time I see them, I just get so excited. I've been here for 4 years, and they're not like the little yellow butterflies or the monarch butterflies that you see in the States. Like, they're very rare, and when you see them, it's just, oh, they're magical. So when every time in Costa Rica, when, like, I've been struggling a little bit with, like, the business, like, getting more clients and just like and I'm just like, "God, what's going on? Like, you gotta help me out. Like, I'm just struggling here. What, like, should I be in the States again? Should I be, should I be going back and doing a 9 to 5 job? Like, should I stop this entrepreneurship, like, that I've been doing for 12 years?" Like, I started second guessing things. And the first time in a long time I was out walking, I wasn't thinking about anything. I was I had my earbuds in, I was listening to music, I wasn't even shifting, and all of a sudden, this blue morpho butterfly comes flying past my chest, going up into the sky, twirling in, comes back down, goes back into the woods. And I'm like, okay, Grandpa, I'm doing just fine. Still, so butterflies are huge, play a huge role. And every time I see them, I think of my grandpa.
So you, after that first Ironman that you did 4 more.
I did,
Uh,
I did,
yeah, I think you did 4. Go ahead.
yeah, I did 3 more.
3
Yep,
more.
3 more. Yep.
Okay. So you did 3 more. So you did 4 in a row, more or less, it sounds like. And then you stopped for about 8 years.
I did.
And then you came back and did 11 more, right? So why did you stop? And then why did you restart?
Sure. So I did those 4 Ironmans pretty much back to back. So like I did one in 2002. I took a year off in 2003, but a- honestly, I did I think I did 3 or 4 half Ironmans. I did a whole bunch of Olympics. So did I really take a year off of like Ironman? No. And then in 2004, my ex-husband and I got married. Or no, I'm sorry. 2005 is when he and I we got married in 2005. And then we went and did Ironman Western Australia for our honeymoon because he was a triathlete as well. And so we did that. And then I did one more Ironman. That's right. I did one more Ironman in 2006. So then what happened is we got married. And then in 2006 at my job, so I don't share this a lot, but I did work at SeaWorld in San Antonio, Texas. And so I was working with the killer whales. So in 2006, I moved over to Shamu Stadium, and I recognized that on my days off, I didn't need to go out and swim, bike, and run 6 hours. I needed rest, and I needed rest on those days. Did I go work out still? Yes, I did. But I needed rest on those days to be ready, to be prepared to go work with killer whales, with predators. So I was working with the dolphins, sea lions, walruses, otters, and beluga whales. So those guys, if you got bit by a little otter, you're not, if you're a little fatigued, it's not going to be as bad. But killer whales, a little different, right? So I wanted to focus on my career at that point because I was like, yeah, I've done 4. I'm good. I sort of didn't think about I didn't think about Hawaii for at all for a long time. And so I um I focused on the career. And then even at that point, I thought, well, we're married. Everybody's asking like when are we going to have kids? Okay, I think that's the next thing, you know. But what did I do? I tried to have kids during that during that 8-year sabbatical. You know, we try to have kids, and I say I had 4 miscarriages. I think the 4th miscarriage was more of a false pregnancy on the test. So I'm very open about it, and I did have miscarriages. So during that 8-year sabbatical, I focused on the career, and then I thought we were supposed to have a family.
Um, so you qualified for Kona in 2017,
Did.
right? To be able to qualify for Kona, you have to complete an Ironman under a certain time, right?
Yes, but you really have to be in the top 1 to 3 of your age group. So, like, I had to pick a specific event thinking and knowing that, okay, I could potentially qualify here. Yeah. So, like, I know, like, Ironman Florida is after Kona. And so a lot of people who have done Kona will go to Florida and try to qualify again for that next year. So, like, if I was 4th or 5th in my age group at Florida, Ironman Florida, I wouldn't get into Kona. because usually the first and the second are going to take it. So when I went, I qualified at Ironman Mont Tremblant in Canada, and I placed third in my age group. And the woman at first already qualified for Ironman Kona, so I knew I was going because there's generally been 2 spots available for my age group at Ironman Mont Tremblant.
I
Yeah,
see. I gotcha.
so
Wow. But still, to be top 3 in
top
your
3.
age group,
Yeah,
that's incredible.
thank you. Yeah, I was third in my age group, and it's funny, I have my medal from Ironman 2016 still. I still have all my medals, but the 2016 one is the year that that I actually podium. So I was fourth in my age group at Ironman Florida, and it was the first year I was actually on the podium for an Ironman. That was 2016. So then 2017 rolled around, and I put all my time and energy for Ironman Mont Tremblant, and I qualified.
So, I think you lived in Wisconsin, right? Yeah, I think you went, further south and then to San Antonio. For 25 years, you lived there, right? You worked at SeaWorld, uh, talking about, when you were in high school and you saying you wanna do that, and here you are, you're doing that. So you would work with killer whales, dolphins. You were the trainer. You would be in the water with the animals. You would teach them, train them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what did working with animals teach you
Mm,
about humans or about life? What lesson did you learn in
mm,
working with these
yeah.
animals?
Taught me how to be patient, you know? Um, with our animals, we did positive reinforcement. So we reinforce the good, ignore the incorrect. It, you know, the one thing about working at SeaWorld, I gained some of my best friends there, and some of them are still working at SeaWorld in San Antonio. And like they're some of my dearest, dearest friends. So that part of my life was pretty monumental just because of the fact that we got to play with dolphins, sea lions, walruses, otters, beluga whales. It's like if you're having a bad, and that was the great thing too. Like if you're having a bad day because of the people that you work with, you know, like I could just go into the area where like some of the otters were, and I would take my lunch break. I wouldn't eat in there, obviously, but I would take my lunch break and I would take my towel, like a couple towels, and I would just have the otters fall asleep on me, you know? Or if like we're once again, if you're just, having one of those bad days and you're like, "You know what? Like, hey, can you guys come out and like you want to go swimming with the beluga whales? Yeah, let's go swimming with the beluga whales." So we just swim around with them and, play with them and splash water at them, and like you being underwater with them was, like, incredible. Like, you just all your worries were taken away. Like, just the water. I mean, that's something big because 'cause I'm such a water person, I'm a water baby. So, like, to be underwater with like, sometimes we'd put our scuba gear on. I'd be like, "Hey, anybody wanna go do a play session with the beluga whales? And we'll go put our scuba gear on, and let's go down and play with them." And they're like, "Yeah." Like, it was very different. Like, you couldn't do that with the killer whales, right? So, like, the killer whales, that was a totally different beast, like, to, it was very organized and very, like, safety, safety, safety. It might be a little different now because of the incidents that's happened, but with the beluga whales, like, you could just, like, have some, like, food with them and, like, you'd all of a sudden you'd go down underwater and they would come down and you would, like, shoot the bubbles at them and they would, like, they would start biting them and stuff like that. Even with the dolphins, like, the dolphins were always so curious about, like, why we were down there and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was like they could help you take your worries away. It was beautiful. So like the animals, all the animals taught us patience, and then really teaching you how to really learn to just be. Yeah.
That's beautiful. That sounds like such a fun job. Showing up every day, you get to work with animals, care for animals, train them, and how you obviously know the differences between different types of animals. I don't know the difference between, like, you didn't say, I'm going to go play around with the killer whales. I didn't. Well, I wouldn't even go in with the beluga whale. You know what I
Right.
mean? I
Right.
don't know them that well.
Right.
I would
Exactly.
say, oh, okay, the beluga whales are okay and the dolphins are okay, but yeah. Is there a um is there a moment at SeaWorld during this time that sticks with you? Did you have some moment that you just remember?
Oh my God, so many moments, right? Like, are you like particular one like you want me to share?
Something that sticks with you today. What's one of the biggest ones that sticks with you today? Perhaps an interaction with an animal
Mm.
or a lesson that you learned or something that you didn't expect and it happened.
I share this one a lot. And this is based off of, I know there's a lot of people that may not agree with animal in captivity, but I get it. I get it. I hear it all the time. I think on YouTube, I have a couple videos of me, with the animals. Um, and I get people are like, oh, you're evil. You're awful. Why would you have animals in captivity? But the one thing that I love about the trainers are that we would do anything for those whales or anything for those animals. Like, those animals are our world. And if we could get them a bigger pool, we could. If we could, like, so every day we walked in going, okay, these animals are relying on us. What can we do for them to make their day better? The one thing that really stuck out to me is that we really developed relationship and bonds with these animals. Like, we would observe them when we were not in front of their faces. So, like, we would sometimes sit over on top of, like, on top, and we would just watch them. We would watch the dynamics of the whales, the killer whales, sea lions, otters. Otters, they were usually paired up together, but mostly the killer whales. We did a lot of observing with the killer whales. So I was working with a killer whale named Tuar, and I would practice this one. It was a night show. So I picked a song out. My other friend, my really dear, dear, dear friend, Julie, we would do I haven't talked about this story in ages, probably ever on a podcast. So Julie and I were planning on doing this night show with this certain song. It was a Garth Brooks song, and it was one of my favorite songs by him. And so we put together this routine to do this in a night show. So Julie had Una, I had Tuar, and every time we practiced, it was the same routine. And so Tuar knew what was coming up. So in the routine, we we would, we were out on land. We weren't in the water yet right away. And then we'd get to this one spot and I would dance, like I would do a hula. I would dance on top of the land. And then Tuar would do a hula in the water. At that point, after the hula, Julie and I would dive in with Tuar and Una. During this time, Tuar would do this chirping. He would chirp. Like, he would be like, chirp, 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 chirp. And that was what we would call like a happy sound. And so Tuar knew the pattern, right? He knew that, okay, after the hula, Jen was going to jump in with me. Like, that was just the pattern. So then we did that practice. And then that night, Julie's like, all right, we're going to put it in the show. So I called my ex. I was like, hey, you need to come. You need to come to the show. Julie and I are going to do the night show with Tuar and Una. And he's like, cool, I'll be there, you know? So we get to the show, something like, and once again, this was just me just observing, something felt off with Tuar, but I'm like, you know what? We're gonna play it by ear. So my ex was up there, everybody's watching, we're doing the show, right? We get to the point where we start hulaing, we dance, right? Tuar made this sound that was just like, ugh. And it was the sound, I can't do it because of my voice, but it was this, me, me. And I looked over to Julie. I'm like, I am not getting in. I looked back to my spotter and I'm like, not getting in. Like Tuar, something was going on behaviorally with Tuar and the other whales. Tuar, I felt like Tuar respected me and said, you know what, Jen, I don't want you to get in with me right now. I'm not feeling it. So I was like, all right. So I told Julie, nope, not getting in. I told Katie back there, I'm like, nope, not getting in. Even though I knew my ex was watching me, I'm like, I'm not taking a chance. Tuar respected me and told me what was going on. Like, you know what, Jen? I'm not in the mood for you to get in. I don't want you to get in. So we just continued with we continued with the show, but we just didn't get in the water. And that was it. And I was like, you know what, Tuar? I'm going to love on you as much as I can, give you food, give you love, give you rubs. Thank you for telling me and saying, you know what, I'm just not having a good day. And I don't want to put you in harm. That was respect. Yeah,
So he was communicating to you in a way. He was telling you not today,
absolutely. Hmm.
and you obviously you listened. And
Listened. Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
I think it's interesting. Um, I looked it up online, and killer whales in the wild, humans, even though they're top apex predators, no human has been killed by a killer whale in the wild.
correct.
There's been no documented killer whale killing of a human in the wild. Why do you think that is?
Because people won't swim with the killer whales in the wild, is my guess.
I see people swimming with them. People do videos, they do drones, there'll be people on kayaks. The killer whales will come up
Oh, yeah.
and they can take them out so easily,
Yeah.
but they don't.
But they don't. I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that question.
I think that there may be a lot smarter than we think. I think
Absolutely.
they communicate, right? You would know this better than anybody else. And like maybe moms tell the children, that don't mess with a human because if you kill a human, they're gonna kill us all. We may be able, we can easily kill one of them, but you better not do it.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think, we're not in their food chain. Like that's how I see it, you know? They and but there if you go online, there's been some animal and I don't who knows if it's AI even, like you'd have to do some research on this, but I think there are some whales that have been coming up to boats recently and really testing them. But once again, is it AI? Is it real? I don't know. I'm not out there personally, so
So in 2019, you reached a turning point in your life. Everything changed. You retired from Ironman. You went through a divorce and you had some lifestyle shifts. Um, what actually broke? Was there a moment when you thought, I can't keep living like this?
Mm. I think the biggest thing that helped me was it was 2019. I was in Boulder, Colorado for an event. It's called Training Peaks. And Training Peaks asked me to go and and give a speaking event. So I had a workshop. I did a workshop and then I did a whole bunch of little workshops during the event. And something about triathletes is that we work hard, but we also play hard. And I remember one night I went out and I think it was the last night. And then I had to fly back to San Antonio. I went out with all my friends, my triathlon friends. It's a very small knit group. Like a lot of us know each other and we all connect or whatever. And I probably drank way too much. And I remember waking up the next day just feeling like crap, going back to Texas. And I called my best friend who it's March 20th, it's her birthday. And happy heavenly birthday, Mel. And I said to her, I go, oh my God, I feel like absolute crap. Like, I don't know why I drink as hard as I do. She's like, stop drinking. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, you might be right. And I decided to stop drinking 6 weeks before my last Ironman. And I didn't know why I wanted to stop drinking, but I also saw my dad pass away because of alcohol. I believe my dad's dad drank. So I thought to myself, you know what? Yeah, I got 6 weeks. Like I could stop drinking. Like that's not a big deal. It might be my last Ironman because during that same event, there's a woman called Stacy Sims, and Stacy was the keynote speaker, and she said, "Ladies, if you are perimenopause or menopausal, stop doing long, slow distance endurance and start lifting heavy weights." I heard that, and I literally and at that time, I was, what, 46, 47, and I said to myself, "Yeah, I'm perimenopause." I think at that point I was menopausal at that point because I already went through the change. I went through the change during the Ironman World Championship training. Um, and I said to myself, yeah, this might be my last Ironman. So I quit drinking and I did 6 weeks of no alcohol before my last Ironman. I mean, I even went to the Ironman World Championship I worked there for a couple of brands and, I would go to these parties and, they'd be like, "Oh, you want a glass of wine?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." They're like, "What?" Like, that's rare for a triathlete to say no to alcohol. And I was like, "No, I'm good." And people ask me, they're like, "Were you drunk?" And I'm like, "No, I wasn't a drunk. I drank 2 to 3 glasses of wine every night, and then I'd go train." So finally, I was like, "You know what? What if I stopped drinking alcohol? What if I stopped drinking alcohol 6 weeks before my last possibly my last Ironman?" And I did. I had the best race of my life. So then I'll share this story. I was at the Ironman at Ironman, Florida. I was at mile and a half on the run. I look out to the Gulf. I was on Surf Drive, which is ironic because I got 2 surfboards now. I got an 8-footer, I got a 7-footer, and, I I'm running, and I looked out to the ocean, and I said, "All right, God, I need 2 things from you. Either 1, I place 1st or 2nd in my age group, I go back to Kona. Or number 2, I have the best race of my life, doesn't matter which age where I am in my age group, and I'm done. I'm retired." And so I went and had a phenomenal run. Like, I was floating. on that run. Now, probably between mile 21 and 23, I was not floating. I could tell you that. Like that's the point where you are just like, get me done. I am so over this, you know? And then I still remember seeing a friend of mine, Jay, and I tell this story all the time, and Jay and I talk about it whenever we connect. I remember, I remember going out, and this was, I think, at mile 20. And I'm like, Jay, I'm hurt. He goes, yeah. He goes, but you got 6 more miles to go. He goes, I'll see you when you come back. And I said, okay. So I come back, I see him. That point, it was mile 23. And he goes, how you doing now, Jen? I go, I'm still hurting. He goes, yep. He goes, but you're almost home. And I go, I'm going home. Like, it was like just that aha moment, right? So I crossed the finish line, had the best race of my life. I saw my mom, I saw my ex, and I saw my ex mother-in-law, and they go, oh my God. I go, what was my time? And they go 10:46:47. And I visualized at 10:46:23. Like I had that in my head for every time I crossed the finish line in my mind after every run, I always brought my hands up. I said, and I would hear, Jen Rulon, you are an Ironman. And I always said 10:46:23, 10:46:23 every time. And I go, oh my God. I go, what place was I in? They go, 7th. I'm done. So that next day, my ex gets up and he goes, do you want to go to the award ceremony? I go, no. He goes, what? I said, no. I said, I didn't qualify for Kona again. And I'm 7th. I'm not on the podium. I'm done. Are you done? Yeah, I'm done. I'm done. God told me. I asked for 2. He told me exactly what I was doing. I'm done. I'm retired. I've done 15. I've done everything I wanted to do. Why do I need to keep going? So there you go.
You said you ran to Costa Rica to run back to who you really were.
Mm,
What does that mean?
yeah.
And what were you hoping to find there?
I don't, I think a lot of people thought I was running to Costa Rica to get away from a failed marriage. One, I don't think there's any failure in a divorce, so I think people need to hear that. I think there's lessons learned. And I think when I stopped doing triathlons, I stopped drinking and I started realizing, like, wait a minute, who was that? Where'd that girl go? That was very freeing. That was that had a voice, that had that, remember that confidence that earlier in the podcast, that self confidence? That self confidence was gone. I don't know what happened to her. Oh, I'm getting emotional. I lost a little bit of her, I think. And that was hard because I don't know where she went. And that's what I teach women. I teach women to speak up, to use their voice. And it's scary as all get out to speak up because you don't know what the effects are going to be with somebody else. To hold the peace with working with a marriage or with a partner or with a job or a friend, like not just a romantic relationship, but even a platonic relationship or a friendship. Like if there's a friend that you don't agree with anymore, you have to say, you know what? I can't be friends with you anymore. This is not healthy for me. Like, and if you have to step away from that friendship and use that voice, use it. So my job right now is not only like the fitness and the wellness piece about my job, but it's also using that voice. and stop silencing yourself.
So, can you tell me about what you're doing now in Costa Rica? I think you had a retreat in December. You had a retreat with some women. What are you doing now? What are you hoping to accomplish? Give me that story.
Yeah. I so in 2020, the world shut down as we know it, right? And and I was retired from the sport. And so I thought to myself, you know what? There's a lot more women than there are triathletes. Maybe I need to start working with women who are going through some changes, because I personally was going through a change. So I thought, well, if I start working with women going through the change, then I too can, help other women out. At that time, I actually had the publishing company reach out to me and say, hey, what are you doing? And prior to that, in 2019, that same publishing company asked me to write a book about triathlons. And I said, I can't do it. I don't have the bandwidth. I can't make it happen. They came to me in 2020 and said, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm starting to work with women. They're like, great, let's write a book. Self-motivation strategies for women came about. And the ironic thing about that was that, yes, I was working with women. I worked with 12 to 15 women at that time during 2020, but I also wrote that book. And I think in reality, I think that book was written more for me than it was for other women, because we were going through one of the hardest times of my life. We were going through therapy during marriage counseling, right? So here we are going through 2020. I'm losing clients left and right because there's no triathlons in 2020. And so anyways, long story short, I started developing and working with women, and it's definitely, my working with women definitely has transitioned to who I am today and where I am today. So so the I have 4 pillars in my business, not only, and it's for my business because these 4 pillars have kept me afloat during some of the darkest times of my life. So the 4 pillars are movement, metabolism, mindset, and meaning. So that's how I work with women. And that is how I will really focus working with women on this journey. And so I get them strong physically, and that's like strength training, going for walks, doing all of, really taking charge of their life, doing that. And then that's the biggest thing that I work with them, is that strength training piece. And then we work on the nutrition, so that's the metabolism piece. So then we'll start looking at their macronutrients, their carbohydrates, their fats, and their proteins. And then we also look at their sleep and their stress levels. So that could play a role in cortisol, like high stress, high cortisol, higher fat. That could be an issue. So we look at that. So that's the whole metabolism piece, and sort of like resetting that nervous system. That's a big piece. And then we look at mindset. So as a 15-time Ironman triathlete, I worked a lot on the mindset. So I try to help them working on their mindset as well. And then I also work with them about meaning. So really finding that meaning, finding their why. And so I think, we talked a lot about in the triathlon space, my why was my grandpa Gaskin, and then also my dad. So, but really finding that why, living authentically.
So here you are in Costa Rica. You've been there a few years now. I think you're near the coast, right? You always
Yep.
wanted
10
to
minutes away
be
from the beach. Yep.
10 minutes from the
Yeah.
beach. Yeah. What does a day look like for you now? Right? What do you get up? Tell me what
Yeah.
what your routine is.
Right.
What is that?
Yeah. Oh, and I didn't even talk about my retreat, but I had my very first women's retreat. It was Rise with the Tides, and I had 6 amazing women. And every December in 2026, I'm bringing on more women. And so like, it's, um, it's transformed with Jen at for the Rise with the Tide retreat. At one point I was going to have train with Jen, but I realized like, I'm like, you know what? The training, you do that on the one-on-one coaching, right? The transforming is us celebrating what you did to train, right? During the year. So like, I'm all about like at the end of the year, like, let's celebrate what you did and what you transformed with. So, um, but an everyday life of Jen Rulon, um, it varies, but the great thing about Costa Rica is that we have a natural circadian rhythm. So, we're getting like the sun comes up 5:50, 5:20, 5:40, 5:50, we're up. Sun goes down 5:50, 6 p.m. It's pitch black. So when that sun comes up, we're up. But I'm a big advocate when I have a call at whatever time. If I have a call at 7, I'm up by 5:45, 6 o'clock, because I need to have my time to drink my 32 ounces of water with lime and pink Himalayan salt before I even touch the cup of coffee. So, yeah, so I need to have my hour before I even connect with anybody. And that's how I reset my nervous system, whether I am sitting in my hammock, enjoying my cup of coffee, or I'm messaging my clients, or I'm listening to a podcast, or I'm just listening to music or I'm listening to nature. Sometimes I just sit there and I don't do anything, and I'm okay with that. Or I'll journal as well. Yeah.
So your grandfather supported your Ironman dreams. It seemed like he supported what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
He had that belief in you. If he could see your life now,
hmm
what do you think he would say?
I mean, he would be beaming with pride because that's what my grandfather was all about. He'd be he maybe he wouldn't understand, the move to Costa Rica because he was that, he's the good old all-American, right? World War II, like very proud of his country. But he would be beaming with pride. Absolutely.
I guess I would want to ask you the same question in relation to your dad.
Sure.
Yeah. If your dad was sitting here today, if he could see your life and the whole arc of it and where you're at now, what do you think your dad would say?
Mm. I think he would tell me that I was crazy, but it's funny because I remember having a conversation with my Aunt Sue, my dad's sister, and there was one. I remember I called Sue up during the separation with my ex, and she told me the story that I said to her. I go, I wonder what Dad would think. She goes, your dad worried about you all the time. All the time. Whether you were swimming with the killer whales, whether you were swimming with the blue whales or the sea lions or whatever. And she said to my dad one time, he's like, I'm worried about Jenny. But Jenny was the name, right? I'm worried about Jenny. And my Aunt Dee Dee is what I call her, and my Aunt Sue, she said, Paul, you don't have to worry about Jenny at all. She goes, I've seen that little girl grow up. And that little girl knows exactly what she wants and who she is. You don't need to worry about her at all, Paul. And I don't know when she said that to him. So I think, would my dad worry? Absolutely. About me living in Costa Rica, about me getting divorced, he would worry about it because I'm the daughter, right? But my aunt would have calmed him down and said, "She's fine. She's good."
It's beautiful where you're at right now, and the courage that it's taken from you to make those changes, because they sound like they were not easy decisions, t to make,
Not at
so
all. And I think too, like, and I haven't even shared this, but, like, I told you, like, I was the girl that would say I would do it, I would do it. And so, I always said I wanted to start surfing. I started surfing when I was 50. Um, I'm 54 now. I'm still not the best, but I actually, like, people are like, "No, you do pretty well, Jen." Like, I'm like, I'm like, "Well, but I have the background. I have the comfortability of being in the ocean, you know?" Um, but I remember in 2001 when I came down to Costa Rica, during our separation, I remember my friends that I'm still good friends with to this day, I remember going on top of a hill and overlooking the town of Samara. I said to them, I go, "Oh my god," I go, "There I need to build a two-bedroom, two-bath container home up here. I need to build." And they're like, "What?" I go, "I can totally envision a two-bedroom, two-bath container home sitting on top of a hill overlooking the ocean." Well, I am now in my two-bedroom, two-bath container home sitting on a hill. I'm not overlooking the ocean because ocean view property is insanely expensive, and, I'm in so it's a one-bedroom, one office, two-bath container home looking over the hills of Costa Rica. So, I do what I do. I say what I do, and I do it.
well, thank you, Jen, for being with me today. If someone wants to connect with you, if some women wanna take your class, where can they find out more about you?
Of course. Yeah, you can go to jenrulon.com, JENRULON.com. There's, it talks about, it talks about what I do, how I do it, testimonies. There's also, like, if you scroll down, you could sign up for my newsletter. That's a free PDF. There's also, like, in that, when you sign up for that newsletter, there's also an other option, like a $27, like, ebook if that's something like you wanna do. If you're not ready for the one-on-one coaching, I get it. So if there's that free one, and then there's also, the little bit more expensive, the ebook that I put together. You could also go to Instagram. I'm on Coach Jen Rulon. I'm on Instagram a lot. I'm also on TikTok a lot, so Coach Jen Rulon. So those are the 2 biggest platforms I'm on. You could go to YouTube, but, I'm definitely not as active on there. But and there's also, if you are interested in my coaching, my one-on-one coaching, there's an application, and you could fill out that application, and, I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Great. Thanks, Jen. So
Thank
I'll
you.
put all that information down in the show notes,
Great.
and I wish you all the best, and thank you for being with me
Thank you.
today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.